In the year 2092, Nemo Nobody, aged 118, stands as the sole mortal human left on Earth, surrounded by immortal beings resulting from remarkable medical breakthroughs. As part of documenting his extraordinary life, he undergoes an interview. However, his narratives appear to unfold in a peculiar manner, with seemingly parallel occurrences. How can he exist in multiple places simultaneously, seemingly living numerous lives?
Paul, keep it down.
My name's not Paul.
Paul.
Daddy, don't wake your father.
Elise.
It's me, Jean.
If you want to stay in the loop and receive more exciting videos, make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, and don't forget to like the video. In the year 2092, humanity has achieved immortality through the continuous renewal of cells. However, there is one last mortal left on Earth, Nemo Nobody, Jared Leto, who is 118 years old and nearing death. Fascinated by the concept of life before quasi-immortality, the world conducts interviews with Nemo to learn about his experiences. Dr. Feldheim, Alan Cordiner, a psychiatrist, uses hypnosis to help Nemo recall some memories, while Nemo shares other memories with a journalist, Daniel Mays. As he recollects his life, Nemo's statements become contradictory because his memories encompass 3 significant points: at the age of 9 when his parents divorced, at 15 when he fell in love, and at 34 as an adult. Each of these moments unfolds into various possible outcomes. Nemo reveals a fascinating belief that before birth, children remember all the events that will happen in their lives. However, at the moment of conception, the angels of oblivion erase their memory. In Nemo's case, the angels forget to do so, allowing him to remember different potential futures for himself. At the age of 9, Nemo faces a critical decision at a railway station as he watches his mother leave on a train while his father remains on the platform. In one scenario, he manages to board the train with his mother, and in another, he stays with his father. In the first storyline, Nemo lives with his mother, Natasha Little, and her new partner, Harry Michael Riley, in Montreal. He becomes infatuated with a girl named Anna Diane Kruger at his school. However, during an outing to the beach with Anna and her friends, Nemo insults them, leading to a lack of further contact. In an alternate storyline, Nemo confesses to Anna that he cannot swim, which brings them closer together, and they fall in love. It turns out that Anna is Harry's daughter, making Nemo and Anna step-siblings, and they engage in a secret affair. They pledge their commitment to each other. When Harry and Nemo's mother break up, Anna moves to New York with her father, and they lose touch. Nemo becomes a pool cleaner, hoping to serendipitously encounter Anna. Eventually, they meet again at a train station and immediately recognize each other in the crowd. After a passionate reunion, Anna suggests meeting at a lighthouse in 2 days, but, unfortunately, Nemo loses her contact information due to a sudden downpour. He waits at the lighthouse diligently, but Anna doesn't show up. In an alternative storyline, Anna and Nemo are married and have children. Nemo's profession involves narrating educational videos at a television studio. One evening, while on his way home, he accidentally hits a bird, causing him to lose control of his car and plunge into a lake, where he tragically drowns. In another parallel narrative, Nemo resides with his father, Rhys Evans, who later becomes disabled. Nemo works at a shop and spends his leisure time at home, writing a science fiction tale about a journey to Mars on a typewriter. At a school dance, he falls in love with a girl named Elise, Sarah Polly. However, a few days later, Nemo visits Elise's house only to find her with her 22-year-old boyfriend. Frustrated, he speeds away on his motorcycle and ends up in an accident that leaves him hospitalized in a vegetative state. Although he can perceive the world through his senses, Nemo is unable to move or speak. During this time, he witnesses his parents reuniting at his bedside. Nemo makes determined efforts to remember the movements of his fingers on the typewriter keyboard, eventually managing to lift a finger, marking the conclusion of this particular storyline. In yet another alternate timeline, Nemo converses with Elise at her house and discovers that she still loves her boyfriend, Stefano. However, Nemo remains persistent and continues to reassure her of his feelings. Eventually, Elise gives in, and they get married a few years later. In one version of this story, tragedy strikes as Elise dies in an accident after their wedding. Nemo keeps her ashes, as he had promised her to spread them on Mars. In the distant future, Nemo fulfills this promise and carries Elise's ashes to Mars, scattering them on the planet's surface. During the return journey to Earth on a spacecraft, he meets Anna. Unfortunately, before they can exchange much dialogue, the ship is destroyed by meteoroids. In another version of events, Nemo still works at the television studio, but it is his assistant who drowns. Surprisingly, the assistant's widow turns out to be Anna, whom Nemo recognizes. In yet another storyline, Nemo and Elise are married and have 3 children. However, their marriage is unhappy as Elise suffers from borderline personality disorder and chronic depression. She experiences bouts of hysteria, and despite Nemo's efforts to save their marriage, she ultimately leaves him to pursue Stefano. Alternatively, after being rejected by Elise, Nemo decides to marry the first girl who will dance with him at the school prom. That night, he dances with Jean, Lin Dan Pham. On their way home, Nemo pledges to marry her and strive for success. Despite achieving success and having 2 children, Nemo becomes unhappy and bored with his life. He writes over all his possessions to Jean and leaves his family behind. Now making all decisions randomly through coin tosses, he pretends to be a passenger named Daniel Jones at the airport and is taken to a hotel by a waiting chauffeur. Unfortunately, at Jones' hotel room, Nemo is murdered while taking a bath, and his body is left abandoned in the woods. Throughout the multiple paths his life could take or has taken, the adult Nemo finds himself repeatedly awakening in a surrealistic world dominated by Argyle patterns. This peculiar setting feels artificial, akin to a movie set, and often seems to seep into his other life scenarios. As Nemo explores this city, he discovers clues scattered throughout, leading him to a dilapidated, abandoned wooden-framed house. There, he comes across a DVD player connected to a television screen. In the strangely interactive video, the 118-year-old Nemo engages in a conversation with his 34-year-old self. He reveals that the younger version of himself does not truly exist. This reality is one where Nemo Nobody was never born, and his consciousness is caught in a kind of limbo. He explains that he is experiencing the story from its end and must remain alive until 5:50 a.m. on February 12, 2092. As the story unfolds, Mr. Nobody shares an epilogue with the journalist, asserting that neither of them is real. They are mere constructs in the mind of the 9-year-old Nemo at the train station when he faced an impossible decision. The young boy attempts to discern the correct choice, exploring each option to its conclusion. Eventually, he decides on a third path, to not make the choice at all. He leaves both parents behind and ventures toward an unknown future. Miraculously, this ambiguous decision leads to a happy reunion with Anna. The film then returns to the older Nemo on his deathbed. The designated time approaches, and Mr. Nobody's final words are witnessed by the world. Strikingly, the expansion of the universe comes to a standstill, and time seemingly begins to reverse. The universe halts its dissipation and starts contracting. Consequently, Nemo's life becomes less complicated. He regresses to his childhood, observes his parents getting back together, and reunites with Anna. In a moment of triumph, the 118-year-old man laughs joyously as he becomes aware that his younger self has finally discovered true love and the essence of life.